I guess Kennedy will join us as soon as she can, right?
Fair enough.
I'm trying to touch base with her now.
Oh, okay.
Kathleen, I have a very important question that I have to ask before we get started.
I hope it's nothing personal.
That's not my business. I just want to know if you've been in Fuego lately.
Sorry, what was that?
I just wanted to know if you'd been to Fuego lately.
That's personal.
You're right. My bad. I didn't even realize what the line was. I was on the line, didn't even know it. I apologize. I'm gonna go back over here and
Yeah, we'll talk after business. I was
that's
trying to
fine.
give you a hint.
That's fine. That is just fine. I'm gonna step about 5 feet back from the line, make sure I don't touch it again. And as you said earlier, hopefully Kennedy's able to join us. Being that we're 3 minutes before the top of the hour, and I know that this is going to be broadcast and recorded. If we do not have guests join us today to ask questions, then I suggest that we make it a conversational, where each of you are able to highlight your strengths and opportunities and pieces of information that you have specific to the topic, and we'll go from there. Does that work for everyone?
Sure.
Yes.
All right.
Are you the moderator, Darren?
I am.
Okay, got it. Got it.
I don't have the high level of expertise that all of you ladies do. I just know how to talk too much. And if you don't believe me, you can ask every single school teacher I ever had. I talked too much. You know how there was that one kid in class that was always getting in trouble for talking too much?
Yes.
Yes, that was this guy. Delisa, are you still with us?
I'm back. I was on the other line.
Okay, no worries. I just stated a moment ago that being that we're 2 minutes from the top of the hour, and I don't currently see any members who have joined us, I made the suggestion that if that remains the case, that we keep this conversational, something of a roundtable, if you will, to where, because it's being broadcast and recorded. Is that correct?
Yes.
Awesome. So I have, thank you to Delisa, a few topics and questions and talking points here, and I'll just throw them out and allow all of you to do what you do best, speak on your area of expertise, which, because you are ladies, is pretty much everything.
That sounds good.
All right. Thank you, Delisa. I appreciate that. And I will start on your cue, Delisa.
10 a.m.
Pardon?
You can start anytime.
Okay. I've got 9:59, so I'm going to wait until 10, which is probably only moments away. Did I say correctly that you are broadcasting on live on Facebook right now as well?
Yes, I'm starting it now.
Okay, very good. I'm so glad I took a shower then. All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome everyone joining us both here on Zoom and on Facebook Live to the Urban Chamber of Commerce You Are Not Alone Forum. This forum was created specifically for the business owners and business professionals out there who are being affected, and not positively, that is, by this global pandemic that we are all experiencing. And when I say effective negatively, we all know that there are businesses out there that are struggling, that have taken a hit as a result of the simple fact that, hey, again, it's a global pandemic. Folks are not going out and spending dollars. Folks don't have dollars to spend, which is, again, at the end of the day, is how businesses stay afloat. And what we know here at the Urban Chamber of Commerce is that specifically, or more likely, the smaller businesses, the mom and pop shops, the solopreneurs like myself, tend to struggle at a higher level. We also know that the urban community, as it were, tends to struggle at a higher level. And so here again at the Urban Chamber of Commerce, recognizing that, we put together this forum and brought together several experts in various fields that will allow our members, and again, all of you that are joining us, again, on Facebook Live, as well as here on Zoom, with information and resources that you may need if you are struggling. Here's why we call this the You Are Not Alone Forum. Specifically, again, the smaller businesses, the mom and pop businesses, the solopreneurs out there. We go into entrepreneurship with the desire to build a business, build a legacy, build whatever our goal is. And just as humans, when you do not have the success that you aim to have at something, it's disheartening. Specific to entrepreneurship, that lack of success can be taken very personally and can be crushing to one's mindset. And so before we continue, I just like to say as a personal note, take heart. There is help here. That's why we are here. You can do it. Whatever your goals are, both in your business and your personal life, you can still make it through this. You are not alone. So with that being said, thank you, Denisha. I appreciate that. We're going to go ahead and introduce, I'm going to go ahead and allow our panelists. I'm going to get out of the way. My name is Darren Mitchell. I apologize. I didn't introduce myself first. I serve at the Urban Chamber of Commerce in a number of capacities, most of note as a part of the membership committee. Our role in the chamber, one of them is to ensure that the members of the Urban Chamber of Commerce have a positive experience with the chamber, are gaining the benefits from their membership with the chamber. And again, it is with that in mind that this was put together. I don't take any credit for putting it together. I just have the role of helping to facilitate it. And I play the role today of the moderator because the chamber has brought together several great people in business with lots of information and lots of resources. But I'm going to step out of the way and allow them to introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Ms. Claytie White. And the notes that I have here, I'm going to read the notes that I have and then ask you if you would just go ahead and introduce yourself. There's a highlighting how historical inequities, COVID-19 and market conditions, and how you operate your business play day to day can play a major role in the success of your company. So Ms. White, if you would please give us an introduction of who you are and your area of expertise for this forum.
So my name is Claytie White. I have no expertise in business. I am a historian here at the university. And I just want to, I'm a part of this panel because I want to give some historical information about Black businesses, but I also want to encourage you to continue no matter what. I want you to know that Black businesses employ over 1 million people and that you generate revenues of $165 billion. And I'm going to be quoting a couple of things today from one of the professors here on campus, Tiffany Howard. She's one of our professors in political science, and she has just served as a fellow at the National Black Caucus. And I'm going to be talking about some of her research, but the good news is $165 billion in revenue. And so we have to find a way for people like me to spend my dollars with your businesses.
Well, all right. Ms. White, I thank you for your introduction, for your presence here, and all of the information that I know that you're going to be able to share. What I just took away, even in that short moment, was the fact that from a historical standpoint, the quote unquote, I'm going to use my finger quotes because at the Urban Chamber, we're about the green, not
No.
necessarily always about the black. However, we do know that historically, things of this nature do affect different groups differently. And I appreciate and respect the fact that you're going to be able to elaborate on that and share with us how we can navigate through that. Also of note, 165 billion. That's called power. That's called a lot of power.
Exactly.
And if it is focused in the right direction, you can accomplish some things with that. So again, thank you for your presence. Next on the panel, my buddy. We go at it sometimes, but it's all in love and a great deal of love. Miss Denisha Mingo with MHS. I'll let her tell her about her business and what she brings to the table among so many things is the importance of and resources related to mental health and wellness for entrepreneurs. Ms. Mingo, please introduce yourself further.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. Hey, Darren, I didn't know we went at it like that. I'm always laughing. I'm always laughing at
It's
your
all
jokes.
love. It's all love.
I'm just thankful to be here. I'm Danisha Mingo, the owner of MHS Behavioral Services, which stands for Mingo Health Solutions. We do therapy and outpatient services. So I'm here to talk about the importance of mental health and mental wellness for entrepreneurs. And it's especially important during a time like this because everyone is, feeling the stress of the pandemic. But entrepreneurs are particularly 50% more likely to experience a mental health issue or depression particularly, and 72% more likely to experience any type of mental health issue overall. And as we continue to talk, I'll be able to share some of those reasons. And so we just have to be aware of the stress that comes along with entrepreneurship that other people do not understand. There is a predisposition of mental health that comes along with being an entrepreneur. And so I will say that support is one of the big mitigating factors in a person overcoming any type of mental health or mental illness. And I have seen the support be a big difference in the way I've been able to manage during the pandemic. So I'm excited to be here to support our local entrepreneurs and the Urban Chamber of Commerce. And I'm a proud board member of the chamber, so I just thank them for allowing me to lend not my expertise, but my passion and my purpose with the members here today.
Awesome. And you're right. We don't go at it like that. And again, it is all love in entrepreneurship and business and in life. It is always good to have people who are around who challenge you lovingly and so that we can all grow. I read in a book somewhere that iron does in fact sharpen iron. And Denisha is one of the sharpest people that I know. And again, I thank you for your presence here and all that you do and all that you bring to the chamber as a board member and to this forum. Next. Another friend of mine from various circles, Ms. Kathleen Taylor, and the talking points that I have here that I'll just of note says resources, recovery options, and tactics, for entrepreneurs who are struggling to keep their doors open or, and this is very important, may be closed currently. Kathleen, please introduce yourself further.
Thank you so much, Darren. Thank you so much to the Urban Chamber of Commerce for being so gracious and allowing me to be on this platform full of dynamic peers. And I'm especially pleased to have Ms. Clady White. It is an absolute honor, really, to be on the same platform with you. I'm a history buff. I love to read. So it's wonderful to have your perspective here today. With that being said, I am with the Nevada Women Business Center. We are a program of the Small Business Administration. So we provide entrepreneurs with training, resources, development, business strategy to help them open a business and help them to maintain a business. Now, with that being said, with COVID-19 and its devastating impact on the small business community, I'm here today to share with you some various resources that speaks to the points that Darren was making during my intro. such as local grants that are available from Clark County, the city of Las Vegas, and the city of North Las Vegas that will help business owners that have been impacted by COVID-19. Also, I have resources to share in reference to assisting with a person paying their rent, with living expenses, and also legal aid as well. There's an organization here locally that's providing free legal consultation for small business owners that are impacted by COVID-19. So what I hope to bring today is to structure my comments based upon helping people reboot and restart their entrepreneurial mindset, to motivate that from where they're at now to trying to look at it from let's restructure our business model. Let's potentially relaunch it based upon that new structure, and also reposition it within the marketplace and what value it brings. And also to hopefully be open when a person does restructure their business model, look at the potential of online and digital platforms, integrating technology and interacting with their customer base on those platforms. So that's what I hope to bring today to the discussion. So thank you again for having me.
And thank you again for being here. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen who are viewing this, there are a lot of resources that have been brought together in this particular forum to help you in your business, both on a business platform, a personal platform, a emotional platform, and definitely an historical platform. And we're going to take all of these different pieces and tie them together and present them in a way where hopefully and prayerfully, you'll be able to get benefit on the direction that is best for you in your business and in your life. And so I have a couple of questions here that I'm going to pose to the entire panel. They may seem skewed to one area of expertise or another, but I know that our panelists, being the experts that they are able to find a thread that fits their area of expertise. And again, the beautiful thing about this particular panel is, folks, these folks are experts in everything. They are sharing specific things, but don't get it twisted, as the kids would say. They know a lot of stuff. And so the first question that I have here that I like to just pose to the panel in general, and then I'll ask each of you for your input on it. Please tell us the steps businesses are taking to relaunch their business as part of the Nevada Recovery Plan. I'm going to go out first to Kathleen. If you would please, again, the question, tell us about steps businesses are taking to relaunch their business as part of the Nevada Recovery Plan.
Well, it's more of a connection between public health and economics. So in order for a business to open their doors and be in compliance to the public health implications with COVID-19, they have to incorporate PPE safety measures for employees and also for their customers as well. If they have a brick and mortar business facility and they're interacting person to person with their clientele. So that's what businesses are recommended and mandated to do. If they want to open their doors, then you have to be in compliance from a public health perspective. And with that being said, there's some resources specifically Clark County that is providing businesses with a grant, which is called, and I don't want to misquote here, it's the, I have a lot of paper here. Sorry.
You have a lot of information.
Yes.
And we are patient. We are good.
So it's the Small Business Pro Protective Retrofit Grant, and it reimburses businesses up to $5,000 in expenditures if you bought equipment in order to retrofit your business to be in compliance with the public health recommendations or mandates for COVID-19. So businesses are making that adjustment, and it's it's great that there's funding available to assist them as well. And that adjustment, and that aligns with the Nevada Recovery Plan as well.
Awesome. And you mentioned that, what was the name of that particular plan that you mentioned?
The grant?
Yes, please.
Sure. It's with Clark County. It's the Small Business Protective Retrofit Grant. And you can access more information on the county's website at www.clarkcountynp.gov, or you can even Google Clark County, Nevada Small Business Grants. It's definitely up and running on the internet. So it's an easy find. And also, with that being said, businesses are also, devastated in reference to rents and how do they pay their landlords. They're not generating adequate revenue. So again, Clark County is taking the step to address that need with a rental grant that's available, and it's the Small Business Rental Assistance Grant, and it pays up to $10,000, where the money is basically dispersed to the landlord, and the renter and the landlord, they actually collaborate to apply for the funding, and it helps the renter with their business lease to hopefully make sufficient payments towards back payments for their rent. So those are some ways that Clark County is stepping up to the mantle. And in addition to that, so that people, businesses are in compliance with our recovery plan and trying to reopen, additional funding has been is available as well from the city of North Las Vegas as well. They have a grant up to $25,000 for businesses that could be used for rent, utilities, inventory, payroll, license fees, etc. And you can look that information up on the county's website. And also the city of Las Vegas as well. They have released the second phase of a grant. I think it's up to $4,000 to $10,000 for businesses that have their license within the city of Las Vegas, to provide them with financial assistance as well in grant funds. So it's I'm really, really pleased and impressed how we've come together to help each other with all these dynamics, with the public health implications and the economic implications of COVID-19.
Thank you, Kathleen. You are, as always, a wealth of knowledge, and I mean that in the most sincere way, because this is so much knowledge, so much information. And the reason that I asked for the details in the way that I did is because, being that we're using the Zoom platform as well as being on Facebook Live, I wanted to try to get that information to the best of my ability onto the chat, so that all of our participants are able to gain that information. If you're able to add more details in the chat, I ask you to do that humbly at your convenience. I think Dee Moreno, I'm not sure who that name is, but they've been typing vigorously, but it only came 2 panelists, so I put it to a panelist. So hopefully everyone can get the information that Dee Moreno put up. Thank you, whoever you are, masked person.
That's Assemblywoman Darren.
Pardon me?
I believe it's Assemblywoman. Oh, okay, sorry.
If it is, great. If it's not, I apologize. Diana Moreno at the Nevada Small Business Development Center. Oh yeah, and thank you for the smiley face on top of that. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for your assist, and thank you again, Kathleen, for all of that information. Oh my goodness, tons of resources available to you to get the help that you need. Now, I know that question was geared, or as I said, I know some of these questions will be geared more specifically to particular panelists, but I want to try to incorporate all of the information, all the knowledge that we have on the panel. So when it comes to recovering or relaunching your business, Denisha, I'm going to go out to you and kind of twist this question a little bit and tell me if I'm going in the right direction or not. if I'm going to put myself in the shoes of the business owner who's been hit hard, my doors may have been closed for months at a time. I'm struggling to know what to do next. I'm glad that all these resources are here. I know I can contact the chamber to help me navigate all of this information. I know that the SBDC is there to help me navigate all this information. But when it comes to specifically the steps that I need to take from the neck up to relaunch, does that make sense? We're talking about launching. It's not always about the resources, as important as they are. It's not always about that. From the neck up, I have to say, well, doggone, can I do it? Do I really have what it takes? You know, maybe I shouldn't have done this in the first place. Maybe all the naysayers were right. I'm not fit out to be an entrepreneur. So what I would like your input. So if I'm sitting at home or sitting in my office or sitting at my desk, and I'm thinking to myself, thank you, Kathleen, for all those resources.
Sure.
But man, how do I get myself going to actually take action, to actually take advantage and do the things that I need to do to get back out there?
Well, thank you, Darren. I think it's really important because we can have all of these resources available to us, but if we're not in the right mental space, we won't even access them, right? We won't use them. Sometimes you just get overwhelmed with, and it's really difficult for small business owners because you're dealing with the day-to-day. Maybe you have a small staff, or maybe it's just you and you're still trying to provide your service or keep your business open, and you're the one who has to find out where all this information is and get the motivation to apply for it and figure it out. And if you don't have the proper support, so I would definitely say, be a part of a chamber and or somewhere where you can find support. And I'm speaking about that honestly because even me being a board member of the chamber, it took for me to be on certain calls to hear the information, and the chamber was a wealth of support. And then even when I didn't apply for things that I should have applied for, having that support of people checking in saying, did you do this right? That's encouraging. So your support system is going to be really important. People who understand the plight of entrepreneurship, who understand that business gets difficult. We see that entrepreneurs are at greater risk of mental illness because of stress, right? So that stress, we may work tirelessly, we may find ourselves sleeping less, our self-care is less of a priority. And then there's a lot of shame that you get dealt with, like you said, am I built for this? Why is it not working? And so then that starts playing on your motivation and probably your ability to be resilient. So obviously I'm an advocate for mental health and counseling and therapy, having that one-on-one support, but it doesn't always have to look like that. It's really taking care of those basic needs. You'll hear me repeat this all the time, right? Getting proper sleep, eating well, making sure you find time to exercise. Those things are just important. And then finding a support, not just in finding resources, but support from other people who understand what's going on so that you know that you're not alone. Isn't that the title of this? Sometimes you feel like it's just me. And likely your family or maybe your closest loved ones, they don't really understand. Well, you got your own business. You should be fine. And I know we're struggling more than those who may be working jobs, and particularly for a lot of sole proprietors, I felt for them because they really had a difficult time accessing some of these funds due to maybe not being an employee and getting some of the unemployment or struggling to get the small business grants because of the structure of their business. So it has been really, really stressful. So I would say, like I said, support, managing your basic skills, and then, just being aware of yourself and keeping yourself in that routine. And, I'm not a opponent of saying, have your day. Feel it. It's stressful. Cry it out. Sit in bed. Do what you need to do to rest and recover, because we always say, keep going, be resilient. But sometimes it's just not realistic when you're faced with just overwhelming amounts of stress. What I will say is that an advocacy for mental health and counseling is support in that way. You don't always have to be suffering from, severe depression or trauma or anxiety to talk to a counselor. And there is support. So of course, MHS is here. There are other resources in the community that we'd be glad to share, that I'd be glad to share. But there is funding now. Nevada Partners has funding to support those. So I'm sharing that because a lot of times entrepreneurs may not even have insurance to use their own insurance to go get counseling if they need it. So we can sometimes be some of the struggling financially more than others. So accessing these free resources to support our mental health are really important. And so you can go to Nevada Partners, you can come to MHS as well. We have access to some free funding for those who may not be able to afford it. And I could go on and on, so I'm gonna just stop there.
And I would let you, because again, I cannot overemphasize this. One of the reasons that the Chamber put this forum together is because there is, as you are already seeing, a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of information, a wealth of resources that are available for you. And if you would only just, I'm going to go to Sunday morning for just a little bit. If you would just reach out and touch, okay, I'm going to leave it right there. But I also know that and I see Ms. Taylor, thank you, that sometimes that's just too hard, especially again, as I was saying with Denisha, from the neck up, I'm just too upset. I can't even just get out of bed. So we wanted to make this available to say, hey, we really are here. There really is help here. You really can do this. Kathleen, did you have a statement or a question to add to that?
Yes, a little of both. And this is related to what Denisha said, and also to you, Ms. White. So from a historical perspective, within the Vegas community, you are a pioneer, and you've seen the growth and development over the years. So what would you say as a witness, and you've researched this topic, in depth, and the mental fortitude that it took for us, for African American businesses or even minority businesses in Nevada, to start from ground zero and then grow a community, become economically stable within the small business sector, and the growth and prosperity on that trajectory. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I want to press upon the fact that this isn't, the small business community is referring to, regarding to minorities, African Americans, this isn't starting from ground zero. It's already been established. COVID-19 is basically has been dropped in our laps, and we have to kind of shift to that dynamic and hopefully keep it going. So to you, Ms. White, what was it like seeing that progress in our community to establish that foundation so that there is an urban chamber of commerce, so there is a commission on minority affairs, for example. So I'm really curious to hear your sage words of wisdom.
So first, I want to just comment on the question.
Mm-hmm.
I've served on some panels recently about the protest as well as about COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
But we're finding that because of systemic racism, there are more people stepping forward to help Black businesses. For instance, Charles Schwab Bank, a name that I can't even pronounce correctly, is beginning to step forward. So you can't hesitate. You have to start looking at some of the larger banks in the area, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, but Charles Schwab is stepping out in a big way. And there is a person there named Alan Odom that people need to get in touch with. And you need to start building a relationship because they are serious about inequities in the Black community and what has happened over the years where Blacks have not been able to get the kind of financing. Most big banks didn't even know, most people working at big banks today didn't even know that those banks participated in redlining at one time. So because of that, the people who are running the banks now, more of the millennials, and so you have some Black people helping to run banks today. They're learning their history and they're trying to do something about that history. Most Black businesses have been self-funded because of redlining. So how can redlining have anything to do with the business? A lot of Black businesses fund their own businesses. So if you have not had the kind of cash coming out of your house over the years that your white counterparts have had, because they've had good funding and good financial stability, they've been able to borrow against their homes because of the equity and the way the equity has increased. Well, Blacks didn't have those opportunities. They didn't have the FHA loans. Black military people at one time didn't have the VA loans. So our wealth is only like 5% of the amount of wealth that a white family has, even today. So those kinds of statistics, that kind of history bleeds over into somebody having a Black business today. So yes, we're underfunded, but there are things that we can start doing. And we can start by talking to some of the bigger banks with some of the major capital. And that capital can now start being used by small business owners in the Black community. So don't forget that as you're applying for all of the grants and as you're looking at the CARES Act funding that's coming down from the federal government, be sure to look at your banks as well.
Awesome.
What's the name of the contact at Charles Schwab again, Ms. White?
His name is Alvin Odom.
Thank you.
And his contact information has already been placed in the chat. Thank you, Delisa, for placing that in there. His entire address, phone number, and email are in the chat feature on the Zoom. Thank you, Ms. White, for that valuable information. I would like to dig into that just a little bit more, if I may.
Sure.
You touched on a couple of points that I was actually going to ask you about. So thank you, Kathleen, for just jumping ahead. But no, it was a perfect segue because Denisha had already spoken about the fact that yes, you have to take care of yourself and reach out to folks. And I'm going to come back to Denisha in a moment because I'm going to ask her a question. I'm going to leave it there for now. But while I have Ms. White, would you talk a little bit more about the fact that I'm just going to call it what it is, Black businesses that were not getting the funding from a historical standpoint, and history, is as recent as yesterday, just so you know, not getting the funding from governments like other businesses. Could you talk more about how that's happened? And then if you would please, or if you can please, and then if you need to go back to Kathleen and Denisha for this, to talk more about how that is changing, how we can affect that change and make that change and get the things that we as business owners across the spectrum need and I dare say deserve. Ms. White?
So when we look back at history, we look at the VA loans, FHA loans, SBA, small business loans.
Oh, and forgive my interruption. You used a phrase a moment ago, and I suspect my spidey sense is tingling that there might be like one person on the line that doesn't know what redlining is.
Okay, good. I'm gonna
Keep in mind as you continue to just break that down for us, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Good, I will. So those agencies, everyone has always thought that the FHA backed loans for Blacks just like they did for white people, but that's not true. At first, FHA loans were not available to the Black community. VA loans were not available to the Black community. And even SBA loans, you had to go through more red tape than anyone else applying for an SBA loan. And sometimes those loans just did not go to African Americans like they should have. But this started back 30s, 40s, we could go back that far. When we look at when we were coming out of the Great Depression and all of those things that we hear about in the New Deal coming from Roosevelt. You know, we loved Roosevelt and all of those things that were being put in place. Well, we'll be surprised now today to go back and look at some of those and see how they did not spill over into Black communities. So all of that funding, all of those resources coming as early as the 1930s did not come into Black communities. Instead, the federal government was the cause of some of the Black communities not being funded at that time. So when we talk about redlining today, banks would actually draw a red line around a community and not loan money in that community. And additional to that, a Black person trying to purchase a house, let's say you have a great job and you're not even looking for that much capital, you're going to really do it yourself with your own income, where those Black people were denied houses in certain areas. So even though I qualify to buy a house in another area, not over here in my area that's being redlined, but I could not purchase a house in those communities either. And in some cases, if you look at books like The Color of Law, it's a book that's very popular now on the bestsellers list. It talks about how the federal government was behind a lot of this. But they talk about facts during World War II, when Blacks had good jobs and would have paid more for a house in another community, they still were not allowed to buy the house in that community. So when we are talking about redlining and not having early FHA loans, not having those early VA loans, we never had the wealth so that we could finance our businesses in a way that other communities were able to finance their businesses. So we even had places like Black Wall Street in Tulsa, a couple of communities in Florida, and some other communities around the country as well, where Blacks just did a great job in just helping each other to get all of the capital they needed. You know, there were always well-to-do Black doctors, Black morticians in Black communities that would sometimes even loan money to other Black starting businesses. But then what would happen to some of those very powerful communities? We know that they were destroyed in race riots way back when. So African Americans just have not had the foundational setting to even sometimes do the things that they need to do to start those successful Black businesses. But today, on that note again, that we are with you and that everybody you're not alone in this. And we know we're not alone. We can look at the protests that are going on right now, and people are protesting all over the world that Black lives matter. So part of that, Black businesses matter. I see Eva as one of the people on this call today. So we know what she has done in the Black community. So all these things are possible. And I think you should also, before I stop, I think you should also start looking at people at your universities and colleges here. And I think you should start looking at people on those campuses who have information sometimes about federal funding that you just might not have in the community. When I mentioned the name of Tiffany Howard and the research she's doing right now, who knew about that? So be aligned with what's happening on your colleges and university campuses, because it is our goal to be in the community more and more often. So use us.
I don't mind clapping by myself. Thank you. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
Thank you, Kathleen. Appreciate that. What I'm hearing, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that the struggles that entrepreneurs of color are facing today. And again, I want to, well, let me pause for just a second. For those of you that are just joining us, whether it's on Facebook Live or here on the Zoom, you are in the Urban Chamber of Commerce. You are not alone forum. This forum was put together to help businesses, small businesses, urban businesses know, understand, and gain resources that they are not alone. You're not the only one going through whatever it is that you're going through. And you have help. There is help available, and the Urban Chamber of Commerce is actively putting forth this information and resources to allow you to keep your business going however that looks. And so what I just took from Ms. White is that whatever struggle you're facing right now, is nothing new. I'm gonna go to Sunday morning one more time, and I read it somewhere. It says there's no new thing under the sun. And so the struggles that face melanated peoples in this country are not new. It is historical. And as I continue, or as I continue with the forum, I want to thank Augusta. Hope I got your name correct, for putting the name of the book in the chat. A lot happening in the chat. Thank you, all of you who are participating, because I was thinking, oh man, I got to get write that not down. What's the name of that book? So thank you, Augusta, for putting that in the chat. I'm an avid reader and a history enthusiast. I won't even say buff or expert. I just like it. And so that is why I wanted to ensure that even when we're talking about redlining, somebody might not know what that means and understand that there is a wealth gap in our country from one community to the next, and it began a long time ago. And so if you are still facing those challenges, they're not new. Not only are you not alone today, but you are not alone from a historical standpoint as well. So with that being said, we have a few moments left. If you were just getting here, I'm so sorry that you're late, but it has been recorded and it will be made available, a veritable cornucopia of information and knowledge. That's my $10 word for the day, has been shared so far. And so what I would like to do, there are a lot of folks that are joining us on the Zoom, joining us on Facebook Live. If you have a question for this panel, a question regarding available resources, questions regarding what do I do, or how can I reintegrate, or whatever it is, you're just saying to yourself, you know what, I have the intestinal fortitude to even join a meeting like this to gain information. I've got a question about fill in the blank. Please, if you would, go ahead and unmute yourself if you're able. If not, use the chat feature, put your question in. I would love everyone to be able to leave this forum getting fed, getting the information that they need to grow, to build. That is the goal of the Urban Chamber of Commerce. I said it at the top of the forum. I'll share it again quickly. We understand at the Urban Chamber of Commerce that small businesses are the life's blood. We create jobs, we create opportunities, and we are helping to narrow that wealth gap. We understand there are social ills in this beautiful country that we all love. Our role, our goal is to help businesses continue to grow so that we can, as Ms. White has already illustrated, narrow that wealth gap, so that as Kathleen has shared, you have resources to do that. And as Denise has shared, you can minimize the mental stresses of the very thing that we're talking about. So I'm gonna shut up and allow our audience members, please, if you have questions, put them in the chat. Raise your hand on the Zoom. If you're on Facebook, type that in the chat feature there, because we want to make sure that you're getting your questions answered today. And I'm pausing to read a question that was put in the chat. Let me see this. Okay, so the question is this, and I'm going to open this up to the panel, and whoever feels most qualified to respond, please do. The question reads, I'm a small business owner. Before COVID-19, my credit score was better than average. I applied for SBA COVID-19 loan, was denied a business loan because current score was too low. I've been in business 9 years and have been able to maintain until now. Any suggestions for available grants? So I know, Kathleen, you shared some information regarding grants earlier. I'm not sure if this person who put this question in got that information, but any information that any of our panelists may share along those lines, I'll open the floor to you now.
Okay. Well, just to reiterate, I'll just repeat the information that I have to address this question. So the grants that are available, one of the requirements is not a credit score. So if you need rental assistance with your business, then Clark County has a small business rental assistance grant that's available, and it could cover up to $10,000 in back rent. So please contact Clark County. If you look in the chat, I think Diana and a couple other people posted those links to that particular grant. Also, if you need assistance with, if you need assistance with retrofitting your business to address the safety mandates of keeping your employees safe and also your customers safe with COVID-19 equipment. There's a grant available also through Clark County as well, up to $5,000 to help you too. And also within the city of Las Vegas, if your business has a local license for the city of Las Vegas, there's also a grant available as well to help you with your business to try to get things up, relaunched and rebooted as well, and due to the impact of COVID-19. And also the city of Las Vegas too has a grant for up to $25,000 to if your business is licensed within the city of North Las Vegas. So those are some grant resources that I would recommend that you explore locally for your business.
I have a question.
Please.
So Bank of America had this whole page ad after the murder of George Floyd, talking about some of the things that they want to do in the Black community. I think that is a great example of that person's question. I think that's a great example of somebody who should hold Bank of America's feet to the fire. I don't know how that person can do that. But this whole page ad in the Review Journal, I think we should make sure that Bank of America is serious. And credit scores are diminishing at this point. I think we can all agree that that's normal and natural right now. I'm sure it's not just happening to Black businesses and Black business owners. I think it's probably happening throughout the world right now. So how can this person hold Bank of America's feet to the fire?
That is a great question. No, Kathleen, please go ahead.
Well, with financial institutions, usually they have a foundation arm that they operate to provide support, resources, grant funding to the community. So as far as holding them accountable, I'm pretty sure that they are more than open, even more so, to supporting communities of color, in addition to our community as well, in facing the economic impacts of COVID-19. If you want to hold them accountable in more of a town hall setting, then perhaps this could be a potential panel in the making where, and I'm just throwing this out there just to address your question, Ms. White, maybe the Urban Chamber of Commerce could coordinate a virtual panel, have Bank of America representative present, have Charles Schwab, Alvin Odom present, and other members of financial institutions that have a vested interest in the African American community and other communities of color. And I think that would, quote, hold their feet to the fire and interacting and engaging in that type of virtual forum. What do you think about that, Ms. White?
I think that's perfect. And Eva Martin is agreeing with me in the chat box. So I think she's giving some ideas of what you can do to hold these banks accountable. I see it coming through the chat right now.
Excellent.
I definitely agree. Another alternative, another option, on the Urban Chamber website, urbanchamber.org, there is a COVID-19 resource page with some more resources and information specific to what's being discussed. Not so much perhaps holding the banks accountable, but helping folks get the funding that they are needing in addition to the information that Kathleen shared. But I definitely agree with both of you that it is important. There's a lot of lip service, and I was checking the market earlier today. Talk is still cheap, so we understand that a lot of large organizations historically will give lip service to appease or placate whichever community is making the most noise, and then when we stop making noise, they stop doing anything. And so they give lip service just enough to quiet you down, oil the squeaky wheel, and then there's no accountability afterwards. And so I agree with the question being put forth. We need to, as a community of businesses, as a chamber of commerce, ensure that we are making our voices continually heard. That is one of the things that the chamber does anyway. Denisha, as a board member, can speak to that and attest to that fact, that our chamber is constantly, literally going to bat for the small business community in both political, financial, and many different areas, to ensure that we keep those voices heard.
And Darren,
yes.
I will say that I see Miss Eva. I want to thank her for mentioning that, of course, open a bank account, make sure that you build a relationship with the representative and let them know your needs. And so one of the ways for us, also on the Chamber's website, some of the banks or representatives who are members of the Chamber are listed. If the particular person is not there, that's actually something we were talking about in our membership committee, is making sure the specific person is listed there. But we have our membership committee, if you are a member, that we can reach out. And now you have a warm handoff to someone who you may be more familiar with, who may be more open to building that relationship with. And as Ms. White was saying, you know, we see a difference now today than we did historically. And I'm particularly proud to be a part of this Urban Chamber of Commerce, because I know that our chairman and our president have been doing a lot to put small businesses, Black small businesses, minority small businesses, in a different position. And for someone particularly young like myself, and I think we're resilient as entrepreneurs, we're resilient as Black people. A lot of stuff I just figured out on my own. And so there came a point where I hit a plateau and I'm like, I don't know, like, what's next, because we're figuring it out, but we're not getting funded. We're self-funded, and that adds to so much stress. So it's been just absolute blessing to be a part of this chamber and have those mentors and people sharing. And I'm listening to Ms. White. I'm like, you know, how do we balance? Well, I guess I would answer that question, but these are the thoughts that we have. How do you balance utilizing, accessing your resources, your historians at the university level, the Small Business Development Center, and running your business? It is difficult, and I would suggest just biting off it a little bit at a time.
Yes.
But now I'm at a place where I'm like, I can't wait to come learn more from you, Ms. White. But there was a lot still that I don't know and I did not know about advancing my business to the next level, and being connected with this chamber has made the difference in how I utilize resources, access them, and manage when those stressful times came. So just know that our chamber is really working hard to put minority-owned businesses at an advantage that we've never had historically.
May I add something, Darren?
Please.
Looking at the chat from, this is from Facebook, from Kalila Stafford.
Yes.
The panel is a good recommendation. We're more powerful when we work as a collective. And I'd like to stress the word collective, because we're not the only community that's been impacted by COVID-19 from an economic perspective. So this is from an actual research survey that was taken right when COVID-19 hit, the first 2 to 3 months. And in the United States, African-American businesses, we were hit especially hard with a 41% drop in businesses, followed by Latinx business owners, 32%, Asian business owners dropped by 26%, immigrant businesses experienced substantial losses by 36%, and female-owned businesses were disproportionately hit by 25%. So going back to the word collective from Ms. Stafford's comment, I think this is an opportunity for entrepreneurs across, you know, different backgrounds, where racial, ethnicity backgrounds, to collectively come together to try to support each other as well. So I'm just going to, you know, put that forth, because at the end of the day, like you said, Darren, earlier, the only color that matters is green, and we're all hurting in reference to green. So I think it would be a great opportunity for business owners to come together collectively to support each other, to try to reboot, restart, and restructure and go forward together.
Thank you again. I agree completely. There's a saying that I'm sorry, I'm doing three things at once again. I saw something come up on the chat. There's a saying that I'm sure many of our panelists and guests have heard before, that when America gets a cold, the urban community gets the flu. I see Ms. White shaking her head. And I think that we can agree, based on what Kathleen just shared with us, that if America gets a cold, all urban or melanated people, as it were, get the flu. Now, here's the sad part. America has the flu, quite literally. So what does that mean for the rest of us?
We have COVID-19
Right.
to a greater extent than others.
So,
and it goes back to systemic racism. So we don't have the health care. Therefore, we have diabetes, high blood pressure, those kinds of things that COVID just attaches itself to. And we're the essential workers. So we're on the front lines, and we're taking it home then to the people who live in our households. So that's what happens. And it goes back to that systemic racism.
Without question. So what I will say, we are approaching the 11 o'clock hour when we are scheduled to bring this conversation to a close. And I definitely want to make sure I respect the time of both our panelists and our guests and those who have attended. I would keep going for another hour, but or more, because there's so much information to be shared. But what I will say in closing is simply this, and it's been echoed by all of the panelists. The resources are there. The information is there. Give yourself that checkup from the neck up, hashtag Denisha Mingo, MHA Services, and get out there and get that information. It is there. We at the Chamber are here for you in all of the capacities that you've heard, but you've heard enough about me. What I'm going to do as we wrap up is ask each of our panelists for, because I see about 2 minutes left, 30-second closing words. I'm going to start on the left of my screen. Ms. White, any closing comments or words for us this morning?
So my closing comment is that take heart, align with others, like-minded people who are also doing what you are doing, and remember in the back of your mind that you are providing $165 billion in revenue every year.
Wow, that's powerful. Kathleen Taylor, again, thank you for being here. Closing comments.
Again, I just want to say thank you to the Urban Chamber for having me here on this platform with this fantastic panelists. I really enjoyed it. And please access resources to help you reset, restart, restructure, relaunch your business, and remodify it as well. Please contact us at the Nevada Women Business Center if you have any questions at 702-734-3555. Thank you again.
Thank you. And last and most certainly not least, board member of the Urban Chamber of Commerce, any closing words as we wrap up this morning? Denisha Mingo.
Thank you. We know that as a minority community, we are disproportionately impacted by this pandemic in so many ways. And that stress alone puts us at a higher risk. And as entrepreneurs, stress puts us at a higher risk. This panel is called You Are Not Alone. And isolation is another reason why entrepreneurs are at a higher risk. And isolation is a key factor in depression. So know that you're not alone and make sure you're literally not alone, so that you can overcome, you can stay motivated, you can stay connected, and you can continue to thrive. Be encouraged. We are resilient people, and if you're an entrepreneur, you're a resilient person. So you can make it. Don't give up hope, and just be encouraged. MHS is here. I'll put our information in the chat.
Thank you, ladies. Once again, on behalf of the Urban Chamber of Commerce, this has been the You Are Not Alone Forum. This is just one step in many steps that we at the Chamber are taking to ensure that anyone within the sound of our collective voices make sure that you are able to get the resources you need to maintain your business. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
you.